Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be talking about the drama that continues to go on between AMC, Regal Cinemas, and of course Universal Studios because of Universal's decision that after all of the stuff, even after all the stuff with the virus is finally calmed down, that they wish to continue to release their movies onto demand services either at the same time or not long after their theatrical releases, and basically shortening the theatrical windows, which are normally around 3 months, to being very, very, very little in comparison. And so we of course have covered this on the channel previously about how AMC was very clear that they did not wish to show any Universal movies for as long as this is going on. But this, of course, has become to the point where they are essentially actively boycotting Universal films and will not show any Universal films in their theaters for as long as Universal holds to this policy. And it is no longer just AMC theaters, it is also now Regal Cinemas as well. And for those that are not aware, in the United States, those are the two largest theater chains in the US. And so when you have both AMC and Regal, and I imagine, we haven't heard anything official yet, that Cinemark would probably be in a very similar boat at this point, that when you have those two giant corporations who have all these theaters saying this, it essentially means Universal will be shut out of the vast majority of theaters across the entire country, which would be a terrible thing for their bottom line. Remember and keep in mind that when it comes to theatrical releases, studios usually get around 90% of the box office in the first 2 weeks of a movie's release. The reason why you have these windows that normally last for about 3 months is for that very reason, because obviously if studios are getting 90% of that take, it means the movie theater chains are not getting really anything off of any ticket price. Imagine you have a $10 ticket, that means the theater itself only gets $1 of that ticket, while $9 will go to the actual studio. Now, this ends up working out in the long run because by the end of the theatrical run, the amount that the studio takes is much less over time, and normally it ends up splitting between 60-40. 60% going to the studios, 40% of tickets going to the actual theater chains themselves. And of course, we all know theater chains continue to charge crazy amounts of money for popcorn and soft drinks, but they kind of have to, since they're getting less than half of all ticket sales that they actually get. They need to be able to make that money up somewhere, and the way they do that is through their concession stand. But obviously, with these theatrical windows potentially changing because of Universal playing around with their releasing of films directly online on video-on-demand services without consulting the theater chains or without respecting the original theatrical windows, that would, of course, lead to theaters being in a very bad position. Now, I've heard a lot of people in the comment section basically siding with Universal, saying, the theaters need to get with the times, AMC is being ridiculous and petty here, but I'm going to be honest, I'm more so on the side of AMC the longer that this goes out, because I can totally understand where AMC is coming from. Again, imagine that you have a film that comes out online the same day it comes out in theaters. That is going to have a tremendous impact about, one, how many people actually show up to the theater, and two, the longevity of that specific film. Because if it is online, it means that it is much easier to pirate. It also means that more people are likely to say, oh, I can watch this at any time. I can just wait for this to eventually go on sale or to go, to become available for a cheaper price, or I can use a Google or iTunes, gift code or discount code for a rental. I know that Google sometimes has that where they have, movie rentals, claim this movie rental and you get it for half off or something to that effect. So that is something that people could do. Also, especially when you look to the fact that a lot of people have giant families, if they were to say that, okay, the next Minions movie is going to be available online the same day, would you think that they would rather bring their kids to a theater, go through the chaos of having to handle their kids at a theater with a bunch of other kids around them, or stay at home and be able to show this, to show the film there and deal with all the crying and deal with all the food and all that nonsense, and also, of course, save a crap ton of money too, because even if it's $20 for that rental, that's still going to be probably a lot cheaper than what it would have been to take the actual entire family to the theater itself. And so who does that hurt? The theater, because the theater does not get that very small percentage of the ticket price they get. And also that means they get absolutely $0 of the potential the potential concession stand purchases that could potentially happen there. So I am more so on the side of AMC and Regal in this situation, because saying we're going to boycott these films, it might sound petty, but when you think about it, if they're telling the studio, you need to come to the table and you need to communicate with us about these theatrical windows and about you releasing these films in this particular way after this virus has gone through, because you are basically threatening our very livelihood. Now, Obviously, there's many different things that can happen from this entire situation. It could mean that if Universal stands its ground and says, screw you, we'll do it on our own, and other studios start to follow that same trend, then the box office as we know it is going to be completely dead. It means theaters as we know it will be completely dead. Now, I've said that that probably would end up happening in about 10 years, probably about 5 years now, with everything going on with the virus. But now we're seeing the position where it could actually be even faster that this could potentially happen within the next couple of years. If, again, Universal stands its ground and if other studios decide to start doing the same thing that Universal is doing. But what does it mean to say AMC or Regal is going to boycott? What it means is that whenever they decide to start releasing their films back into theaters, Universal will no longer have a position to show their films in any AMC or Regal as long as they hold to this position. So it's not just them saying arbitrarily, oh, we're not showing your movies anymore, for as long as you think this is a better idea. It's for as long as you're going to practice this, and again, it's going to screw us over, we're not going to show your movies at all. And so, again, I think that AMC is definitely in a better position on that one. If it was me, looking at the situation as I am, as objectively as I possibly can, it just seems like that they're on the better side of it, where Universal might be thinking to the future of how films eventually will end up happening. And again, they're looking at the dollar signs, how much money can they actually make? And I bet that they think, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hold this out. And if AMC stops getting Universal money, that could potentially lead to them falling to the point where they have to let the studio back in, let the movies back in, and accept whatever Universal wants, including these very short theatrical windows as well. But what does it also mean for Universal? It means that films like Fast and Furious 9, Halloween, Jurassic World, and Minions are all on the table. These are all films that could potentially not be shown on the big screen. Again, if you're not showing it in Regal or AMC's in the United States, that is the vast majority of theaters, and so therefore, you're looking at the films essentially being shut out of most theaters. And guess what? Some of those films are movies that you're going to want to see on the big screen and not renting it from home. However, there's also the argument that some people want to stay home, not have to worry about people kicking their seats, not have to worry about people on their cell phones, and they would be willing to pay a more premium price, even if they're an individual, like $20 for a rental, if that means that they get to enjoy all of these things without any major issues going forward. Now, I'm one of the persons where I think $20 is a little bit too high for a rental because I don't have kids at this point in time. I most likely would be watching it by myself. At most, I'd be watching with my wife, which would make it, would basically make it even out if I was thinking of it as the prime time ticket price of around $10 plus. But for most people, I think, who are going to see a movie by themselves or maybe with one other person, it might actually not be really the sound investment, or rather the sound price that Universal probably thinks that they are actually providing. And so if you want to have more details and more information about this entire thing, Bounding into Comics, like I have up here, has a very good article. So this was posted yesterday and announces the boycott. Now, this is something that they've already stated, so this is actually not brand new news. Some people were contacting me the other day saying, like, did you hear this? Did you hear this? It's like, well, they already announced that they were not going to show Universal films. So this article right here is basically just taking you through the entire process of where it all began, which of course was the release of Trolls World Tour on video on demand, because as this does reveal, which is something I did not know beforehand, they did that without actually consulting any of the theaters, and Trolls so far is the only film that has been released onto demand that has either not had a previous theatrical release or was postponed to another point in the future. And so Trolls is in a very unique position. Universal is in a very unique position, which is why it seems like they're being ganged up on. But in reality, I think, and again, this is just my own thought on this, I think AMC and Regal are in a correct position here, because if Universal goes through with this, and if AMC and Regal were just to step back, they would basically be allowing for their businesses to go out of business. They would be allowing for the death of theaters to go that much faster. And I know that for me personally, I love still going to the theater for a lot of different movies. I also understand why some people don't like going to the theaters anymore, that the theaters do need to adapt, that they do need to change. I think that is true. And I'm hoping that by the end of all of this, that Universal theaters, Universal movies will be shown in theaters once again, but also that both sides learn something from this. One, that you can release films more quickly to video on demand services, but also that theaters need to start offering more stuff as far as perks go at their movie theaters, whether that means actually, enforcing cell phone policy, whether that means having employees in the theaters making sure that that is happening, which of course is going to cost money. But if that's what they need to do to bring more people back to their theaters when you have studios acting in this way, then I say so be it. So before I end the video today, I just want to shout out RK Outpost, Ryan Kinnell, who's an awesome person, and he is currently in a fight with this stupid group called Naughty Dog. All I really know about them is that they have made the game called The Last of Us, and again are going to make The Last of Us 2, and that there were leaks that were associated with that, and they have now been issuing, or at least people associated with them have been issuing copyright strike claims against channels, including Ryan's, including As from Heel vs. Babyface, also Geeks and Gamers, Game with Geeks, again, Jeremy, have also all been affected by this, and many more people too, I'm sure, have gotten not just copyright claims for content, but strikes, which means that it affects the live streaming ability of certain channels, which means that if you get 3 strikes on a channel, they can take your entire channel down without actually having to tell you or go through any process. It could literally just disappear like that. If YouTube decided, oh, we found this one other violation of our community guidelines, so we're going to issue you yet another strike, they could do that. So if you can, make sure you go check out RK Outpost, Ryan Kinnell's channel, and also of course, support Gaming with Geeks, supports Geeks and Gamers, support Jeremy, and support Heel vs. Babyface and so many other channels that have been instantly impacted by this, and their channels, essentially, the life of their channels, hang in the balance. So YouTube, you need to get off your ass, you need to start doing your damn job, because the fact that you have these giant companies and corporations that are somehow allowed to, without any repercussions, abuse the system, and abuse especially the copyright system, is ridiculous. Your copyright system is already terrible, because you don't respect fair use at all, which is so freaking ridiculous, but then also you allow for these things to happen to smaller channels from these giant corporations, and it's freaking ridiculous. So get your freaking act together. Make sure you support those channels that have been hit by this, because if they lose their channels, in some cases they lose their livelihood, and we don't want any of that, especially since a lot of them are friends of our channel. So thank you so much for your attention and time. Please smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps all out. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to my April Patreon and Subscribe Star members. We have animation commentator Brian P., Dion, Divex, Elizabeth M., Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunker Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Intertrap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, JJ Jonathan Jerembeck, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And to my Subscribe Star members, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Dark Star 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. And out of step with reality, and Albertus Magnus, and JJB Net, and Tina Bojan, and Laura the Modern Major General story. I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank spot just previously in case any more people decide to become a Patreon or Subscribe Star member over the next few days. Just remember that as soon as you sign up, you are immediately eligible for any of the benefits. If you just sign up at the $1 tier on Subscribe Star or Patreon, you get a shout out at the end of every single video, including my live streams. If you're a $5 or up backer on either platform, you get access to exclusive giveaways where I give away several 4K Blu-rays, digital copies every single month as well. If you jump up to the $10 tier on either platform, you get access to all of that, plus you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with my friend John the Flick Pick of John Flickinger and the Flick Pick fame. We do a bi-weekly podcast, so every 2 weeks or so we do one. So you get probably about 2 or 3 depending on what's going on, probably more so now with everything going on in the craziness of our world. But you do get access to that. Also, if you are at that $10 tier, it means that you get to take part in the Q&A part of that podcast. And so about 24 to 48 hours before the podcast, maybe even longer beforehand, I'll leave a post in the Patreon Subscribe Star. You'll be able to leave a comment on a question that you want us to answer, on a topic that you want us to cover in a future podcasts as well. All of that you have access to. And if you're a $25 backer and up, you get all of those things. Plus, you get a t-shirt for your first month. That's right. You get a free t-shirt, high-quality Odin's Movie Vlog t-shirt. So just make sure if you're at a $25 and up backer level, you leave your address. That way I know where to send that to. And also, I will be messaging you to get your size information. That way I can send that out to you as quickly as possible. But you also get access to an exclusive Chosen of Valhalla live stream that we have once a month on this channel, where I invite you to be on the show. You can either show your face or not show your face, or hey, you don't have to show up at all. It's totally up to you. And we talk about a wide variety of things. We talk about movies that you've been watching, modern things going on, the pop culture, and pretty much anything that you yourself want to talk about. So if any of these things sound interesting to you and things that you'd want to do, please hit that Patreon subscribe star link in the description of this video and think about joining today. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And as always, God bless.